did explain it in the artifact video, but basically the 10k supercharge gives my group more supercharge. Like Gemini gives supercharge to your group. Now, when I use a 10k, it gives more supercharge and more heals to my group than if I use a 2k. So I try to use the 10k as much as I can, and I use the 2k just to generate my own supercharge. And then here I'm gonna wait until the group gets here. I'm gonna pop 2 shields. Look at how I didn't die right there, because I have, you know why I didn't die right there? Because I have book art, and I had shield. Book art gives me defense, so I can withstand more damage. That's why I didn't die right there. You know, he hit me hella hard. We're gonna go pop another 10k. We're gonna pop a 2k, and then we're gonna pop another 10k. Dude, what is this troll? Loki not keeping me out. That's another 10k. So let's quickly go over the entire setup that you need to be having to be able to maximize water healing. So first things first, in regards to the loadout, which is probably the most important thing, there's different ways that you can run the loadout. A lot of people that don't have Starbolt, I'm gonna first start off with saying you don't have to use Starbolt. If you don't have Starbolt, you can just use dash attack, and then you can use Tranquil Pull. Now I kind of covered it at the beginning of the gameplay when I mentioned that to your EOG, what you're using to give supercharge to the group, the way it works is depending on what supercharge you pop, whether it's a 2.5, it's a 5k, or a 10k, it's gonna give more supercharge or more health depending on which one it is. So if you pop a 10k, it's going to give 3% supercharge per second, and it's also going to give 6% health per second, meaning it's going to heal your allies that are in the green circle, which has a pretty big wide base. And then you also get 5% Dom health and resto. Now I do want to mention that you guys, the more health you have, the more survivability, the more dominance, the stronger your shields, and the more the restoration. Now in that gameplay, I'm using book art. Now you may ask, why am I using book art? Well, the book art gives me more defense, which gives me personally more survivability. It also gives me a restoration, which is going to give more healing. It gives might, which is going to make me do more damage, kind of making me more of a battle healer. And then as well, it's going to also give me dominance, which is going to make my shields be stronger. Now, obviously, since we're spamming shields, having a little more dominance and a little more stats is going to help. But if you want to do more heals, I believe that using purple healing rate is better, especially if your troll is not that great. As you guys saw in the gameplay, I was running out of power, so purple healing rate is more of a safer bet. If your troll is not super experienced, you're gonna want to run Quizlet, Page, Gemini, Soak Cloak, and Healing Ray. But back to the loadout, essentially you want to try to always pop 10ks, but you really have to keep in mind that you position them well. And that's something that you guys will see in the gameplays. I put them not too close but not too far away, and you gotta see where your group's at, and that's pretty much it. If you ever run across a group where everybody's split up all over the place and you don't know where to pop a green, usually what I do is I'll just look at whoever's top DPS and I'll pop it on them. Don't overcomplicate yourself trying to chase after players. If they want to separate, just go to whoever's top DPS and pop it on them. Like, that's it. That's all I really have to say on that sense. But other than that, I do use the White Lantern shield because it does group you and 3 allies, and when the shield breaks, it does heal. The Solace of Sea, I don't really think it's that worth using. If you are going to be using this move, I would only use it on boss fights solely because it's a move that goes on the ground. So like, for example, if I pop this here, but then I have to move over here because the ads are on this side now because we killed that ad set, now that pool is doing nothing. So I would only use this pool if you're in boss fights, if you guys want to use it. But other than that, usually you just want to pop shields. You can run 2 shields, Tempest Guard and Life Shield, or you can run 3, or you can run 2. But one thing I like to mention is you can't, if you pop the White Lantern shield, right, and then you pop Bubble, it's just gonna break the White Lantern, okay? So you want to make sure if you are running 3 shields that you alternate them correctly. Pop one, and then you can pop the other. The Tempest Guard does stack with the other shield, so you can pop that one, but you can't pop Bubble and the White Lantern shield, so keep that in mind. Other than that, I'm basically spamming dash attack, and every time I use dash attack, I actually gain supercharge. I don't lose supercharge. The reason being is I have the 15% supercharge back ultimate mod, which you can get out of the broker or you can get out of the marketplace if you wanted to purchase it. Then I also have Soul Cloak, which gives me 7% max supercharge when I use the super, and it also gives me better supercharge regeneration. And then I also have the back mod, which resets my supercharge generator. Using a shield or supercharge generator resets the cooldown. So using those, it actually allows me to be able to continuously hit my supercharge generator. So that's part of the reason why I don't really need to have Starbolt, because I have the back mod resetting, and I also have my Riptide resetting, and then I also have a 5k called Flood of Power that resets it, and then I can hit it again and again and again. So it's what makes it so OP about this setup. Now, Flood of Power is a really good supercharge. It literally gives you immunity, shield, and it gives you infinite power, and it reduces the cooldowns, and it resets all your cooldowns. So basically, what you can do, and it's crazy the setup that you can do. You can basically pop Rip Supercharge Generator, hit 2 shields, then reset it, then hit it again. Now you've hit your Supercharge Generator 4 times. Now you may say, okay, why is this so crazy that I hit my Supercharge 4 times? If you look at my Supercharge bar on the top left, I'm already max super. So I just use the super and I'm already max super. So it's like I use the super for free. You know what I mean? So it's really, really OP to use that this supercharge, because you basically use it for free if you use it correctly. How do you use it correctly? Hit Drown, hit Riptide, then use the Flood of Power, then hit Drown, then hit Riptide again. So it's very simple. 1, 2, 1, hit Riptide, boom, boom. Then you go into healing, and then look at my supercharge top left. I'm full already. So that's pretty much the rundown on how to use it. Again, you do want to try to use your trend kill pool and your Call of Deep, simply because it's going to give more supercharge to your group. If you want to generate supercharge, you can also use dash attack. It's going to give you more supercharge than you use as well. Again, you guys can get a little creative with this. The main thing is that you want to make sure that you guys are popping greens one way or another, and try to prioritize the 10Ks. And also position them really well. But that pretty much wraps up healing. There's only 2 other things. Obviously, you guys, as I just mentioned, we're spamming Drown, and part of the reason why we're doing that is because that's our supercharge generator, and we're using Black Adam, which makes it where supercharge generator ability grants 35% more supercharge, and then we use Flash. He gives us a portion of the supercharge back every time we use a supercharge, and then obviously John Constantine. Regards to skill points, we go super powered. I go full dominance just to get my shields to be as strong as possible, but usually I would recommend people to do 100 into restoration, 100 into might and power, and 100 into dominance. If you have really low skill points, I would honestly probably go 100 into might and power, just because you're gonna be running out of power if you don't. So that's pretty much the reasoning behind that. Now, the last thing I wanted to cover before we go back to the gameplay is I do use the neck mod. This is like a little bit of sauce. It's not gonna be a game changer. I do use the neck mod, Fortified Assault. This is a neck mod I use for my tank, but I also use it for my healer, and you can honestly use it as a troll as well. But basically, it just gives you 10% extra defense while you're not blocking. That 10% defense can help you just stay alive. You know, as you saw in the gameplay at the beginning, I do eat an attack, and this is something that contributes towards that. Like I said, it's not going to make or break your character. It just adds a little bit more survivability. But other than that, you do want to have the chest mod power efficiency, because this is going to make you less power hungry. And then obviously I already went over the back mod and the head mod. Those are very crucial. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, you guys want to try to buff up with your seasonals. This is why you guys got to stack up. These seasonal buffs are usually in Halloween and Christmas and the summer events. But you can get these seasonal buffs, and then it's going to increase your healing. When you pop them, you get a heal boost, 5% healing boost. So that's another thing you can do if you wanted to really go the extra mile and, you know, be a very efficient healer. You can pop those, and then you can also pop a Compound Omega. Another art that I sometimes use, last thing I'll mention, is sometimes I'll put in Philosopher's Stone, and I'll just pop my Philosopher's Stone because that's going to help buff the group. The Philosopher's Stone, I did make a whole art guide video if you guys want to know all the arts, but the Philosopher's Stone gives you double regeneration of health, damage buff, and power free. So it makes it where you can cast as many moves as you want for 8 seconds for you and the whole group. So The main arts that you need to have is Page, EOG, and Scrap. The other two you can kind of mess around with. I do use Quizlet because it gives me Supercharge every 5 seconds, but that's basically the whole rundown.